Well, I've left Bulgaria now, but Colin, of course, still lives there, and he's sent me over this little bit of video from a day when the temperature reached 42 degrees. The area where people are sitting started out as just a caravan, which I visited in the early days. It was serving food and drink, and it's kind of spread out into a whole street cafe, and everybody's sheltering in the shade here for obvious reasons. Back here in Britain, we've had quite a mixture of weather, but we've still had days when we can sit out on our balcony and watch the traffic go by on the main road, and enjoy the gardens that are right in front of us, and of course a glass of wine. Going back to the 3rd of June, I was going to make more of this particular day if I'd have managed to get up early enough to see the Cunard ship Queen Anne coming into the Mersey. So here it is moored up over in Liverpool at the cruise liner terminal, and I'm taking these pictures from obviously the Wallasey side, and I'm standing right by Mother Redcap's. Mother Redcap's used to be a tavern or a cafe, depending how you viewed it. There's still a poem on the wall of a nearby house that says, "All ye that are weary, come in and take rest. Our eggs and ham, they are of the best." Sounds good to me. It was a cafe or a tavern, depending who you listen to, and in the old photograph you can just see the entrance archway. Eventually the property fell into disrepair and ruin and was knocked down, and as I said, the original archway entrance is all that's left of it. Quick whizzer along the river into Birkenhead, and the Woodside Ferry Terminal, which closed in October 2022, is still being worked on. They're on the roof at the moment, as you can see, and it's due to open sometime in mid-2025 apparently. For the time being, if you want to cross the river from here, you just walk across the road into Hamilton Square Station and go down onto the underground. If you've been watching this channel, you'll know that the Merseyrail trains have all been updated. We've got some brand new trains, but some of the old ones are still running. So in this shot from James Street Station, you can hear a train coming down the tunnel. Can you tell by the noise of the approaching train if it's going to be a 507, the original 3-car train, or the new 777 4-car train? Well, that was a trick question, sorry about that. It was neither. I think this is probably the only convenient way you can move rail traffic across under the river, so you will see from time to time things like this rail freight locomotive. Well, it doesn't appear to be stopping here, so I'll just have to wait for the next one. We're moving north now along the Mersey estuary up to Waterloo, which is in the borough of Crosby. We've been to Marine Lake before now and had a look round there. But today we're going to go up South Road. Now this is, as I may have mentioned before, the area I grew up in, the borough of Crosby as a whole, and South Road Waterloo is one of the main roads. At the bottom of South Road, but just before you get to the river, if you take a right turn, you're then in Mount Pleasant. And on that corner there is the place where I used to get all my business cards printed. This premises was a printer's and is now a tapas bar. I was interested to find out that Crosby has a coffee roaster. Crosby Coffee is something I came across at the railway station cafe in Ormskirk, and so I've come down here just to take a quick look at where they're set up. And I was pleased to see that they had a coffee-themed wall mural, always a nice touch. This seems to be a popular venue for people to go in and get coffee and cake, and I must admit if I wasn't on a flying visit that day, I would have gone and tried it for myself. But I had some more murals to see. There was one just down the road on the side of a van. And back on the Wirral at Morton Cross, this one's been on the side of this house for years, but I think the Queen is still in people's hearts, and this one is likely to be here for quite a long time to come. A little further along on the Liso estate, there's this wall mural, and the pub showing in the pictures is the Oyster Catcher. Now, the Oyster Catcher was the pub that always used to be on this site, but that's all gone. There's new shops and everything here, and there's some pretty nice pictures here. Somebody's done a good job, don't you think? So this is New Brighton Post Office. It's obviously covered in paint in one way or another, but the interesting feature here is the New Brighton Tower. The Tower Ballroom burned down in 1969. I actually watched this burn down as I was driving into Liverpool from Crosby to go to work. You could see it across the river. This is the main shopping street in New Brighton, Victoria Road, and as you can see, the majority of buildings have some kind of artwork or another on the front of them. It's about a mile from here to where Ellie Edwards was tragically killed that Christmas, and one of the pieces of artwork is also about the Ellie Edwards Foundation. Having a metro underground rail system in the form of Merseyrail means it's easy to hop across from the Wirral underneath the River Mersey and right up into the centre of Liverpool at whatever point you want. This is the Liverpool 1 shopping precinct, and the areas around it are Church Street and Lord Street. They've been here for years, and I'm just passing through here, not really a shopping person, but you can see how busy this gets on a normal weekday. So back on the Merseyrail up to Waterloo Station, and then a bus into the centre of Crosby. The part I used to live in is known as Great Crosby, and the main road through this part is Moor Lane. These are up-to-date pictures of Moor Lane Methodist Church, but if I cared to dig them out, I've got some photos of this church from 1976 when I got married there for the first time. The windmill opposite the church is still there. At the time we knew the people who owned it. I have no idea who owns it now. And this is where Moor Lane comes into the centre of Crosby, and the George Hotel is the pub that was there when I was a teenager and is still there now. This used to be the main shopping street with places like Woolworths that have just disappeared and gone. All traffic, including buses, came this way, and now it's all been pedestrianised, and as you can see, people have moved out onto the streets, and this has become the latest cafe culture street for Crosby. Waterloo, Crosby and Thornton are the three main places in the borough of Crosby, and where I lived was nearer to Thornton in a road that opened out onto fields beyond, as you can see from the map. I lived in a pleasant tree-lined road which could supply me with more conkers than I could ever need. The road ran between Moor Lane and the open fields. The far end of the road there was this footpath, and you could get out and go for walks up towards Thornton and Innsblundell, or down towards Little Crosby. There are some pretty substantial houses in this road, and the one I lived in, which peeks through the trees here, used to be a semi. It's now completely detached. I was slightly disappointed to see that the name for the house had been ditched. There used to be a nameplate on the front of the garage. Let me just put it back where it was. And it's because this is the house where I started to grow and thrive and go through my teenage that it meant so much to me that I have kept the name and used it with various businesses throughout my life.